the owners of those places, they put big emphasis on making it look very, very nice. So a lot of people are saying, wow, look at the Termini area. These places or this hotel or this apartment looks so nice, yet it is so much cheaper comparing to staying in Centro Storico. I think I just found us a great deal. Fabulous people, welcome to the podcast for all the babes who create their own life trends. My name is Anastasia, and this podcast is all about inspiring you to relentlessly pursue your biggest dreams and live your most authentic, abundant life. Well, for those of you who are watching this podcast, as you guys can probably tell, I am back to my favorite city in the entire world, Rome. Over the years, I've lived in most of its central neighborhoods, walked the streets at sunrise, and planned countless of trips for clients from all over the world. And if there is one thing I can tell you with all the certainty, where you stay in Rome will definitely shape your entire experience. Rome isn't a city where anywhere central will do. Each area has a different vibe, different pace, and different level of convenience. And today I'm breaking it all down. The best areas to stay in Rome, the ones to avoid, my personal favorites, and how to choose the right neighborhood based on your kind of trip. Whether you're planning a romantic getaway, a family adventure, or your first time in Italy, this episode will help you make the most of your time and fall in love with the right side of Rome. So let's talk about the most popular areas of Rome, the ones that you probably came across when you just started searching where to stay in Rome. What I love, absolutely love about the Eternal City is that it is very walkable. The historic center of Rome is actually very compact, and it is very easy to walk from one neighborhood to another. So when you're trying to decide where to stay in Rome, it's not just about the proximity to the landmarks. It's about the vibe, the energy, the noise level, how safe it feels at night, and how you want to feel when you step outside of your door every single morning. So let's break down every single neighborhood. The first one, of course, on my list is Centro Storico, the historic center. And that is Piazza Navona, Campo de Fiori, Pantheon, Largo Argentina. Centro Storico, of course, is exactly how you imagine Rome to be, if this is going to be your first trip. You will be surrounded by the most stunning architecture and, of course, everything within the walking distance. You can walk to the Colosseum, Forum, Piazza Navona, Piazza del Popolo, etc. So every single thing is walkable. You will be able to reach every site on foot. So there is no need for public transportation or taxis or Ubers unless you're just completely exhausted and you want to take one. Another plus for staying in Centro Storico is that you have plethora of options when it comes to restaurants, cafes, bars, rooftops. So you will have tons of choices and all of them will be pretty much at your doorsteps. In my opinion, Centro Storico is one of the absolute best areas, especially for first-time travelers. Now let's talk about some of the cons of staying in this area. Number one, of course, because it is very touristy, you're more likely to run into a tourist trap than not. So you really need to know where to go for dinner or for lunch, because unfortunately this area is filled with tourist traps and overpriced locations. for nothing. So just be very, very careful. Do your research ahead of time. Make those reservations for restaurants ahead of time. Don't just rely on getting to Rome and then trying to figure out where to have your lunch or dinner. You really, really need to know where to go. Another thing to consider, another con of staying in this area is that because there are so many people who are staying here, visiting, sightseeing, it gets very, very loud during the day and during the night. So you also need to do a proper research when it comes to accommodations to make sure that you will be staying on the street that is a little bit tucked in and further away from all the main sites, and that you will be able to actually get some proper sleep and recharge your batteries. I actually lived in Campo de Fiore area twice. First time when I was 19 and I was doing a study abroad program to Rome. And during that time of my life, of course, I absolutely loved the noise and the excitement and the movement of Campo de Fiore. Now, the second time when I stayed in Campo de Fiore for a few months is when I came back from Greece after the pandemic and I was looking for a new place in Rome. So I stayed in Campo de Fiore for a few months while I was searching for an apartment. And let me tell you, those two experiences were completely different because I was already in my mid-30s by then, and the noise, the excitement, the movement of Campo de Fiore felt a little bit different to me. There were so many crowds constantly going through the streets of Campo de Fiore because, as some of you know, Campo de Fiore also has one of the most popular markets in the city, aka now, unfortunately, a tourist trap, so avoid. But of course, because it was on so many different blogs and YouTube videos, it still lives to the glory of its past. But unfortunately, these days, it is nothing but a tourist trap. There are just a few authentic vendors on that market that they've been there for decades, but the majority, unfortunately, of the vendors and things are not authentic anymore. So just kind of as a side note, if you're thinking visiting Campo de Fiore market or not, in my opinion, avoid, guys. There are so many more authentic local markets that Rome has to offer. Campo de Fiore, unfortunately, no longer is one of them. When I was 19 and studying at the university, it was one of those markets, and I genuinely miss it. I miss the feel of it. The vibe nowadays is just not it. So as much as I love Campo de Fiore and its energy, unless you're into very loud and energetic nightlife, I strongly recommend for you to pay close attention to where you're booking your accommodation in Campo de Fiore. Definitely read tons of reviews to make sure that the accommodation you're selecting, be it a hotel or Airbnb, is located on a quiet, tucked in street away from all the noise of Campo de Fiore. Now, the second area, of course, a very, very popular area that I want to discuss with you is Trastevere. Now, Trastevere is very popular and picturesque neighborhood. As a matter of fact, when you see a lot of posts on social media, be it on TikTok, on Instagram, or when you watch movies that are filmed in Rome, a lot of times those posts and movies are done in Trastevere because it is very picturesque and it is exactly how you imagine Rome to be. Trastevere, which actually means across the Tiber or across the river, hence to get to Trastevere, you actually need to cross one of the numerous Roman bridges, arguably has one of the best nightlives in the city. So if you're looking for the best bars, the best lounges, the best trattorias that serve Roman food, traditional Roman food like carbonara, amatriciana, cacio e pepe, etc., that is your place to be. Now, what's interesting is that Trastevere is also the favorite neighborhood of all the students. So those students who do study abroad program from the US to Italy to Rome, they usually stay in Trastevere area. And would you blame them? I mean, it is truly the most vibrant nightlife of the entire Eternal City. Also, Trastevere has this colorful, vibrant, beautiful streets and one of the most popular markets in the city, San Cosimato Market. So you really get this local little village kind of atmosphere that is hard to find in other areas of the city. Trastevere is truly, truly unique. So I see the appeal and why so many people want to stay here. But of course, there are also some cons when it comes to staying in Trastevere. And as a lot of you probably already guessed, what that first con is going to be is, of course, potential lack of sleep. If you're staying in the Trastevere neighborhood, you really, really need to be careful choosing your accommodation because it is very lively and vibrant neighborhood. Something is always happening here, be it live street performances, be it the market, San Cosimato Market, that starts opening at 5 a.m. So just imagine all the noise of all the, of course, carriages and everything to bring all the produce to that fresh market. So of course it gets very, very loud very early. And then of course you have all the bars and restaurants and people standing outside and talking and laughing and drinking. So potentially you might have some issues with finding a quiet street and falling asleep. One couple I still remember wrote to me and said, Anastasia, we loved and hated Trastevere at the same time because we were staying on a very lively street. We didn't know at that time that that is how our experience is going to be. So there were people until 3 a.m. under our windows talking and laughing and having a good time. And then when we finally managed to fall asleep, we were woken up at 5 in the morning because that's when all the vendors from the market started carrying their produce. So we've been running on 2 to 3 hours of sleep every single night until we left the Eternal City. So just again, be very, very careful with choosing your accommodation if you want to stay in Trastevere. Now, Trastevere is a very, very big neighborhood. So you have quiet streets, you have loud streets. The reason why I'm sharing this with you is to make sure that you are doing your proper research when it comes to the accommodations if you decide to stay in Trastevere. Just make sure, again, you're reading tons of reviews that are saying that this is actually a very quiet part of Trastevere and people are not complaining that they've been not getting enough sleep because of the noise. This is very, very important, specifically when it comes to the Trastevere neighborhood. Now, another downside of staying in Trastevere is that it is quite further away from all the main sites. So, as I mentioned earlier, you will have to cross the bridges to get to most of the major sites in Rome, be it Piazza Navona, Campo de' Fiori, Spanish Steps, Trevi Fountains, Coliseum, etc. And unfortunately, Trastevere is not well connected by public transport. There is no metro station, for example, in Trastevere. So just be prepared to either walk a lot or take a taxi or an Uber. So that is another thing for you guys to consider. In my opinion, Trastevere is not ideal for families with kids or for travelers who want peace and quiet. So if you are, for example, a young couple who just wants to be in the center of the action and truly enjoy the nightlife, then yes, Trastevere is an ideal place for you. But if that is not your goal, I would be very careful when it comes to choosing an accommodation in Trastevere. Now, let's talk about Prati. Prati is the neighborhood of the Vatican museums and St. Peter's Basilica. Depending on where you stay in Prati, you will feel that the vibe of that neighborhood is quieter, more local and residential. As a matter of fact, a lot of my Italian friends who want to be in close proximity to the city center but still enjoy that local vibe, they choose Prati area for living. And same goes for expats. I know a lot of American expats who absolutely adore Prati area because again, it is in such a close proximity to the city center, yet it has that local Roman vibe that a lot of people are searching for in Rome. Prati also has a lot of excellent options when it comes to restaurants, bars, cafes, local shops. So it is definitely an area for you guys to consider. Now let's talk about some of the cons of staying in Prati area. Depending on where you will be staying, you might not be within walking distance to most major sites of Rome, like Colosseum, Roman Forum, Piazza Navona, etc. So you really need to understand, depending on where you're staying in Prati, how far you are from walking to all the main sites. Another thing that you might want to consider, again, depending on where you're staying in Prati, because Prati is a very, very big neighborhood. That's why I keep giving you guys this disclaimer, depending on where you're staying in Prati. But depending on where you are, Prati might not feel as Roman as you imagine, because a lot of areas in Prati, as I mentioned, are quite residential. They are more modern because Prati was, of course, built later in comparison to the Centro Storico. So you have to also understand and figure out what is important for you and exactly where in Prati you will be staying. So again, you really need to be careful when you're choosing your accommodation, be it a hotel or apartment. Just look on the map, figure out what's around you, and that is something that in Prati matters a lot. In my opinion, Prati is great if you've already seen the main sites and want to feel like a local. It's elegant, calm, and perfect if you want to slow down, especially in the heat of summer. It's also excellent for large families, as apartments tend to be bigger and more spacious than in Centro Storico. Now let's talk about Monti. Monti is this cool, trendy, village-like area near the Colosseum. I personally lived in Monti twice during the past 10 years, and it truly has some of the most incredible spots in the city. You have Colle Opio, which is a very famous park tucked away right behind the Colosseum, and of course, as you've guessed, has some of the most incredible views on the Colosseum itself. And it also has an incredible hidden gem that I mentioned in one of my Hidden Gems of Rome series on my YouTube, which is Domus Aurea. I strongly recommend for you guys, especially those of you who are into history, to go and watch that video because it is one of my absolute favorite hidden gems in the Eternal City. Another thing that Monti has that I absolutely love are places like Sanctuary or Black Market Hall. They are this hip, trendy places where you can go out for drinks or spend hot summer days by the pool. Those places are just amazing. And then, of course, if you're staying in Rome during the weekend in Monti area, then Campagna Amica Market is something that you will absolutely love. I also featured that market in one of my YouTube videos, and honestly, guys, it is my absolute favorite market in entire Rome. It is local, it is authentic, it has some of the best choices for olive oil and bread, mozzarella. You can get gifts to take with you back home there, and you can also have lunch there because every single weekend they prepare lunch with all the local products. So you have different vendors preparing different options for you, so you can grab a panini, for example, nice local wine or beer, and have a picnic in the middle of the market. It is such a beautiful, local, authentic experience. Definitely do not miss it. And I'd say from the Monti neighborhood, it's about 15 to 20 minute walk. It is wonderful, and it is right behind Circo Massimo Coliseum area. So enjoy it, guys. That market is a true hidden gem. So much better than Campo de Fiori. So much better. Sorry, Campo de Fiori. I loved you. I loved you so much decades ago, but you just turned so touristy. Now, another pro of staying in Monti area is that it's filled with all the local artisanal shops, cafes, bars. So it has this really great, hip, yet historic vibe. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, you will be in close proximity to the Coliseum and Roman Forum. The location is just, it's hard to beat. In my opinion, it is one of the best neighborhoods for solo travelers, couples, and creatives. Now, it might not be the best neighborhood for families with kids because Monti is still a little bit further away from some of the sites like St. Peter's Basilica or Vatican museums. So again, you just have to see what matters to you the most. And of course, if you're coming to Rome as a couple or a family or a solo traveler, whatever is your type of traveling and how you're traveling, it matters, guys. As you're listening to this episode, I think you're starting to realize that all the small nuances truly matter when it comes to choosing the right neighborhood in Rome. Now let's talk about where not to stay in Rome. And to no one's surprise, the first area that I'm going to mention is, of course, Termini area. Termini area is appealing to a lot of travelers because when they look on the map, it looks central. And it has this close proximity to the Termini train station, which will take you to other places in Italy and also to the metro station from which you can navigate to other parts of the city. Another reason why Termini is very appealing to a lot of travelers is because the accommodations around that area tend to be cheaper. They look very nice because, of course, the owners of those places, they put big emphasis on making it look very nice. So a lot of people are saying, wow, look at the Termini area. These places or this hotel or this apartment looks so nice, yet it is so much cheaper comparing to staying in Centro Storico. I think I just found us a great deal. In reality, that is not the case because even though Termini looks very central on the map, it is loud, it is hectic, and it is definitely not Rome that you guys imagine. Another reason, and the most important one, why I wouldn't recommend for you guys to stay in Termini area, because it is not the safest area of Rome. As a matter of fact, it's quite sketchy. So if you're a solo traveler or if you're traveling with small kids, avoid Termini area at all cost. You do not want to take that chance. Termini is just not the area that most people dream of. It is not emotional, it is functional. And if I was traveling to Rome, there is no way I would be staying anywhere near Termini station. This is just my personal take after living in Rome for over a decade. Termini is a great area for getting in and out of the city, but it is definitely not the area to feel or stay in Rome. Now, neighborhoods like Pigneto, Testaccio, San Giovanni, they might look really cool or affordable on Airbnb, but even though they're not far on the map, they can feel pretty disconnected from Rome most travelers come for. If you're here to walk to piazzas, sites, and cafes, you might find yourself commuting more than you'd like. I actually lived in Testaccio during my second semester in Rome as an exchange student, and even though Testaccio is a really cool local neighborhood, a lot of locals love coming here for authentic restaurants, cafes. It also has one of the most famous fresh markets in the city. In my opinion, I wouldn't stay in Testaccio unless you're a budget cautious traveler, but I wouldn't stay in Testaccio neighborhood if I was traveling to Rome, especially as a first timer. Now, finally, Parioli, an upscale residential neighborhood. It's elegant, quiet, and known for wide boulevards and Rome's upper class. Parioli neighborhood is located quite far from all the main sites. So, unless you're staying in Rome for quite some time, or you've already visited Rome many times, or you don't mind taking taxis or Ubers, getting to places, I would personally avoid Parioli. Another thing that Parioli lacks is that Roman energy. It is polished but not atmospheric. You're not going to see here a lot of cobblestone streets and that buzz of the historic center. Now, to sum it up, if you're staying in Rome for a month, love peace and quiet, or you've already seen Rome's major sites, Parioli could be a hidden gem. But for most first-time or even second-time visitors, I'd skip it. Now, I know some of you might be wondering, Anastasia, what about the Spanish Steps area? You haven't mentioned anything about that area. And the reason why I haven't mentioned this area yet is because I wanted to give its own separate chapter, because it is my absolute favorite area in Rome. Now, I know some people might not agree with me. Spanish Steps is not a favorite area of everyone. But because this is my podcast, I really want to talk about my personal favorite area of Rome and why it is my personal favorite. If you wake up early, just one morning, and wander through the Spanish Steps neighborhood, you'll find yourself wrapped in a quiet elegance. The morning light is soft and golden, brushing gently against the rooftops and cobblestones, as if the city is just beginning to exhale. For a brief moment, it feels like you've stepped into a classic film, Rome at its most timeless. Spanish Steps area is also very practical because you are in close proximity to every major site in Rome, be it the Spanish Steps, of course, the Trevi Fountains, Coliseum, Piazza Navona, every single thing is walkable. Also, Spanish Steps area have its own metro station, Spagna, so you will be able to take a metro and travel to all the other areas of the city. Another thing that I absolutely love about the Spanish Steps area is that it has this perfect mix of elegant hotels and stylish apartments, and it is very clean and safe area. If you are a solo traveler, in my opinion, Spanish Steps is truly one of the best neighborhoods when it comes to safety. I cannot tell you how many times I walked the streets of Spanish Steps at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., coming back from an event or a night out with friends, or even when I couldn't fall asleep, I could walk the streets of the Spanish Steps even early in the morning, and not once I felt unsafe. It is a very, very safe area of the city. So if you are a solo traveler, again, this is truly one of the best neighborhoods for you to stay at. Now, if I convinced you to stay in the Spanish Steps neighborhood, this is what I would recommend for you to do as your morning ritual. Get up early and go for a walk to Villa Borghese, be it a walk, a run, or even maybe for a meditation. Then on your way back, stop at one of the bars in the Villa Borghese, grab yourself a centrifuga, which is a freshly squeezed juice that is composed of the oranges and ginger and lemon and all that other good stuff. And then as you're walking back, walk through one of the most incredible hidden gems in the Spanish Steps area, Via Marguta, which is known to just a few, but that street is truly a hidden gem. I actually, a few weeks ago, I did live from that street, and I talked about why this street specifically is so important and truly one of the most stunning streets, not only in Rome, but entire Italy. That street is just such a gem, guys. I almost feel bad giving it away, but for my fabulous community, you guys need to know the absolute best spots in Rome. But it is truly a hidden gem because even when around Via Marguta, there is so much movement and chaos and noise, Via Marguta always stays so quiet and so peaceful and so beautiful. It is truly a hidden gem of Rome. While you're exploring the neighborhood, make sure to stop by the Cafe Greco, which is the oldest cafe in entire Rome and the second oldest in entire Italy. Coffee there, as well as the ambiance, is legendary. And then in the evening, during the golden hour, I strongly recommend for you to go to the Pincio Terrace, Punto Pincio, with some of the most incredible views on entire Rome. You will listen to the live performances, capture some moments, and you will see why I am so in love with Spanish Steps neighborhood. Now let's zoom out a bit and talk about how to actually choose the right place to stay. Not just where, but how to make the right call, whether you're booking a hotel or an apartment. Now, when we just begin the discussion with the clients of my travel agency and we're learning about their preferences, their style, and if they prefer to stay in hotels or Airbnbs, there are a few things that we bring to their attention just so they can make the right decision where they should stay. So when it comes to the hotels, if you're looking for the daily housekeeping, concierge service, on-site support, then of course hotels might be the right choice for you. In my opinion, also from what I've seen throughout the years, hotels are good for people who have short stays in the cities. So if you're staying for 1-2 nights, hotel might be a better choice for you. Also for first-time travelers or second-time travelers, again, just to avoid all these logistical things that come along with Airbnbs, hotel might be a better and safer choice for you because you won't have to figure out all the codes to the apartments, things like that. Now, apartments, and as you guys can tell, I am in one of the apartments that my Fabulous Vita travel agency works with. We actually vet every single hotel, every single apartment throughout Italy, and we also try to stay in as many of those places as possible to, of course, understand how they feel, how they function for all the clients of my travel agency. Those kind of places like this one right now, for example, are perfect for either couples or families with kids, or for people who want more space, because a lot of times if I'm staying longer at one location, be it 3 days, 4 days, or even a week, I personally need a lot more space. I also want to have my kitchen because I don't feel like going out every single night to a restaurant. It just becomes a little bit too much after a few days, honestly. But again, this is a personal preference. So staying in a nice Airbnb truly gives you more space, more freedom to move. It also gives you this nice local experience. So if that is what you're after, Airbnb, a well-chosen Airbnb, can be a great option for you. But of course, you do have to, of course, figure out more logistics. Like I mentioned, the door codes, for example, the keys, the trash rules, etc., etc. So you just need to understand your preferences, your styles, how long you are staying at each destination, and then decide if you would like to stay at a hotel or Airbnb in that particular city. I can tell you that a lot of times our clients prefer a mix of hotels and Airbnbs so they can enjoy all the conveniences and comforts of the hotels and then have some local authentic experiences in other places by staying in Airbnbs. But of course, it is completely individual and based specifically on your preferences. Now, if you're choosing an accommodation by yourself without the travel agency, then I strongly recommend for you to read tons and tons of reviews for each place where you are thinking about staying. And certain things that you need to pay attention to is number one, noise. Make sure that none of the reviews or very few of them mention the noise, because as you've gathered from today's episode, it is very, very important to choose a place far, far away from all the hustle and bustle of the city. Another thing that is very, very important, and I cannot stress this enough, especially in the summertime: air conditioning. Make sure that, again, you're reading tons of reviews that the apartment that you're selecting, and even a hotel, has air conditioning, and they actually use it. They actually allow you to use it because the buildings are quite older. And of course, in Italy, they look at air conditioning a bit differently than they look at air conditioning in the US. Just make sure that air conditioning is something that is mentioned in the reviews, that it's working properly, or the place actually has air conditioning, because it is not that uncommon for certain areas and certain places in Italy not to have air conditioning in the apartments or in the hotel. Another thing is, of course, walking distance to major landmarks. You really want to pay attention how far it will actually take for you to get from your accommodation to all the main landmarks. Just because something looks central on the map, it doesn't mean that it's within walking distance. So again, another thing for you guys to consider. Water pressure, elevator, those things are also matter a lot, especially if you're going to be carrying big suitcases up and down the steps. If there is no elevator in the building, which again is not that uncommon, you are after all in the city with thousands and thousands of years of history, make sure again that there is an elevator and there is water pressure. You will be surprised, fabulous people, how many places actually have issues with water pressure. And finally, one of the most important things, communication with your host. If from the beginning communication is just not there, it's not happening, if the host is not responding promptly or not responding at all, this is already a red flag. And I actually go in a lot of details on this specific topic in one of my previous episodes, that time in Italy, what to do when your hotel cancels on you, because yes, unfortunately, it does happen. And believe it or not, a lot of time it all starts with the poor communication. So I strongly recommend for you to go and check out that episode. I will make sure to leave you the link in the description down below. So the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is that Rome is not one size fits all. Where you stay, the street, the view, the sounds, the neighborhood rhythm, it will completely shape how you remember the city. Two people can visit Rome at the same exact time and have wildly different experiences, just based on where they are waking up each morning. And of course, if you guys would like support with your trip, my team and I don't just give advice. We plan, organize, and book every single thing for you, from curated accommodations to private transportation and train tickets to tours, activities, and daily logistics. We design your trip around your rhythm, style, and preferences, so you don't have to piece it all together on your own. And if you are just as passionate as I am about exploring this beautiful world, don't just listen, join me. Make sure to smack that subscribe button for more Stay Fabulous series, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Let's explore this incredible world together, one unforgettable story at a time. This is Anastasia signing off from Rome. I cannot wait to talk to you in the next episode. Until then, and always, stay fabulous.